In the beginning of the movie, we see a boy who is not very old. He was a school student and was traveling home by train at the moment. His name is In-soo. Just then, In-soo receives a call from his mom, who asks him if everything is fine. As In-soo is holding a locket in his hand, it starts shaking, and suddenly he sees the ghost of a girl in front of him. Initially, In-soo tries to ignore her, but quickly the ghost realizes that he can see her. In-soo starts trembling, clutching the locket in his hand, which was given to him by his grandfather because he could also see ghosts. In-soo pretended not to see ghosts because he didn't want any ghost to know that he could see them. He feared that if ghosts found out, they would follow him, seeking help as their souls wandered. Therefore, In-soo decides to help her, informs the police about the girl's whereabouts, and soon the police find her body. Now he will fulfill her wish. His uncle also had this power, and like him, he could also see ghosts. His uncle says, "Son, you can see ghosts too, and so can I. If we stay together, this house will be rid of ghosts, and anyway, how long will you keep running away from these ghosts and changing schools every day? So just ignore them and leave the rest to me because I have already submitted the application to change your school." After that, the next day, we see many such things at the door that could repel ghosts, and they were installed so that the ghost could not enter the house. That's why his uncle always stayed inside the house and rarely went out. Then next, she wakes up and gestures him to sit on the adjacent seat, telling him she liked him. She suggests he should pretend to like her too, but he politely refuses. Again, In-soo sees the ghost of a girl, her face covered in a mask, with blood on her hands. Seeing her anchor, he is startled. It is said that spirits with such blood are very dangerous, and their deaths are gruesome. She comes to take her revenge, and In-soo reveals her name, which was Mourn, and she sits beside him. Once again, he pretends not to see her. "Free my soul," she says, and In-soo feels happy. Then someone suddenly stabs a doc with a ruthless knife. His blood splatters on a schoolgirl's portrait, which falls the next day. She comes angrily towards In-soo, hitting him hard on the ground. The next day, the schoolgirl, whose portrait was splattered with blood, starts looking for her doc, who was clueless until then. Suddenly, her friends come and push her away when the ghost of the masked girl appears before her. She removes her mask, revealing herself to be the same girl In-soo had seen at school, and she confronts the schoolgirl. Looking at the masked girl, she recognizes her. This girl knew her well. Now as she approaches her, the frightened girl steps back and hits a sharp object tied to a closed door, scaring her even more. The next day, In-soo finds courage within himself. He stops a girl from the group who had been scaring everyone. Initially, she frightens them, but then the group leader, who knew what had happened to them, beats them both mercilessly. The news of the ghost spreads, leaving everyone shocked and clueless about what was happening. But the group leader, who knew what had happened to them, simply avoids talking about it, not revealing anything for now. The next day, In-soo learns about the masked girl's true identity from another spirit, so he asks about her in class. But he doesn't get any information. The group leader tells him she was a crazy girl Sanger who had never liked taking pictures, so no one had one of her. Another girl discreetly sends In-soo a picture of Sanger and warns him not to tell anyone that she sent him the picture. After seeing the picture of Sanger, In-soo realizes she was so strange that nobody ever took her picture because she didn't like it. Another girl from the class sends In-soo a picture of Sanger and warns him not to tell anyone she sent it. In-soo is quite taken aback. It felt like he had seen this before. After that, he approaches Mourn and starts asking her about Sei-hi, to which Mourn replies that nobody knows about Sei-hi. Even here, everyone knows that she will come to take revenge on you guys. After that, the boy leaves In-soo. Now, when they were alone, the group leader instructs her friends to, but in two different forms, to which her uncle responds that sometimes even souls suffer from split personality disorder, which is a condition where a person lives with different personalities and identities, just like humans. And this happens to souls because before growing, they have been tortured by people a lot. Now In-soo receives a message from the group leader, who tells him about the upcoming date of Sei-hi's soul's visit to his house, and also that his life is in danger. And his uncle advises In-soo not to go to Sei-hi's place. But because he had to save the group leader's life, he wanted to go. Then his uncle hands him his grandfather's knife, saying it could convince many. The soul of Sei-hi, along with the group leader and her friend, torments them severely at the dead house of Sei-hi. Even here he had worn a mask. After that, Sei-hi's soul enters and mercilessly beats them both. After their death, In-soo arrives here. He sees Sei-hi's soul in a state of trance, leaving the house somewhere. When he goes inside to check the cupboard, he also sees Sei-hi's soul. And now as In-soo removes her mask, his senses fly away because he finds out that Se-hi and Mourn are the same. They are just two different forms of one soul, in which one form is good Mourn, while the other is very dangerous, the bloodthirsty Se-hi. After that, a scene or paste comes to mind, where we learn that Se-hi had reported against this bullying group. But when those people found out about it, they started harassing Se-hi daily. She was beaten up quite a lot. More than half the time she was tormented. Sometimes her hair was burned, sometimes cut. Once the group leader crossed the limit. They had subscribed and said that if you ever remove this mask, we will do many more bad things to you. When the subscriber found out about this, they decided to report it to the police, but Se-hi stopped them from doing so because if the group got to know about it, they would make Se-hi's life hell. But the next day, when Se-hi was sitting in class wearing a mask, her teacher removes her mask and tells her that you will not sit in class wearing a mask, you are not allowed to do so. She throws the mask in the dustbin. But due to the reason for removing the mask, the group leader beats her severely again, and she just keeps suffering. But, fed up with the daily torture, she was now exhausted, so she sacrificed herself by hanging from a ceiling fan. After her death, Se-hi's soul returned, and to reveal her identity, she killed the group leader along with all her friends who used to bully her. But when her wandering soul returned, her two worlds collided, and it was quite adorable that her body, using her voice, instructed all those students to gather in one place, as all the lights in that area automatically turned off. Now, Se-hi was reading all these realities from In-soo's diary, which made him nervous. He quickly took his bicycle and started heading towards the school. In the meantime, he also called his uncle for help. Now, his uncle went to Se-hi's house, where he first laid her body on the ground. He took ritual clothes and held a sword in his hand, ready to perform a ritual for Se-hi. As soon as the ritual was completed, all the power went into that knife, which In-soo was holding, and now he had to attack Se-hi's soul with that knife. He arranged petrol throughout the area through the teacher, and now he was about to ignite this fire. He held a lighter in his hand, ready to ignite it. At that moment he also called his lockets, to know whose soul Se-hi was inside. The locket shows a sketch of Se-hi's beloved, which was not made for anyone else but him. In-soo met Se-hi's soul from Se-hi's room. In fact, in childhood, Se-hi used to study with In-soo in his school. One day, In-soo had saved Se-hi from many bullying children, after which they became friends. She sees In-soo skate and remembers him. That's why she immediately returns in her good form, because now she also remembered In-soo. Then, as her soul found peace, In-soo sees Se-hi once again and feels very sad. But what could the poor guy do? After a few years, In-soo comes to that school as a teacher, where he was once a student. In between, he notices another soul sitting on the previous seat, a soul that was gradually leaning towards In-soo. She was also in pain, and with this, the film ends here.